Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you around Photoshop's workspace and all the different tool palettes and sections. So starting off in the center here we have our workspace. This is the page that we loaded up in the previous video, so it should be correct to the dimensions that you have set for that. The grey space around it is just our background, and we can actually right click on the background and change it to a different color if it helps your workflow. If we go clockwise around the screen, starting off from the left, we have our main toolbar. So this is where we're going to be jumping in and out of constantly in our future videos. And we've got all our common tools here, like our move tool, our marquees, which allow you to select things. We've got the paintbrush tool, we've got the paint bucket, the eraser, shape tool. We've got a whole bunch of things here, and I'm going to explain a couple of those in more detail in a future video. Moving to the top of our screen, we've kind of got three toolbars here. So our top one, right at the very top of our screen, is our big drop-down menus for saving our work and opening and importing things. Our edit menu, which we're going to be using a lot, will allow us to do things like transform and alter the perspective. We've got the image tab, which allows us to change the size and rotate it along with other things, and so on and so forth. So we got a lot of menus up here at the top, which are going to be very helpful. If we go down to this second tab just underneath it, this changes depending on what tool we have selected from the left hand side here. So I've currently got the move tool selected, and if I go down to the paintbrush tool, you can see that those settings have now changed. So I've now got all settings relating specifically to my paintbrush tool. If I go to the shape tool, you can see the settings have changed again. So that will change constantly. If there's a setting you're looking for and you can't find it, it's probably because you're on a different tool. So check on the left here. The third and final bar is our tabs for all our documents. You can have more than one document open up in Photoshop at one time. So currently I've got test one. This is the document we created in the last video. If I go to File and New, and I open up just another A4 document and click Create, you can see that that tab has now appeared, so I can switch between documents in case you're wanting to work over more than one. Remember, there is the artboards feature that I showed in the previous video. If we then jump over to the right hand side, we've kind of got three sections to this panel, and we can actually click and drag between them to resize them. In fact, we can even drag them out and separate them, which I'm going to do just for ease of explanation. So our first one is our color palette. This is how we select all of our different colors, just by clicking and dragging this little icon, and you can see here in this little square which color we have selected. We also have a bar on the right hand side that we can click and drag to change the hue. Now that's not the only way of selecting color in Photoshop. We've got several tabs up here at the top. If we click on swatches, it allows us to basically pick colors from predetermined palettes. So if I click on dark, you can see we've got a selection of darker colors there. If I click on pastel, they're much lighter. If I go to grayscale, they're just white to black and all the tones in between. So we've kind of got some customized palettes there. Same thing with gradients. We can go to the oranges folder and you can see we've got all different gradients relating to orange. And if we go to patterns, same thing, but it's with patterns relating to kind of textures, trees, water, so on and so forth. So that's how we choose our color. Our next menu, our next area is actually, I've ordered those the wrong way around, is actually the properties and adjustments tab. Now, in a similar way that this tab bar here changes depending on what tool we have selected on the left, this box here will change depending on what tools we have selected from these icons here in the layers panel. So this may not necessarily look the same. It depends what we're using from these icons here. And last but not least, probably the most important panel in Photoshop is our layers panel, which contains all of our layers, settings and adjustments for our document. And I'm actually going to explain that in a separate video because it's such an important element of Photoshop. Now, the last thing I'll quickly go through, you can see that I've moved toolbars around and resized them and kind of messed things up a little bit. What if you wanted to reset your workspace? It's really easy to do. All you do is go to the top of your screen where it says Window, click on that and go to the second option where it says Workspace and go across to Reset Essentials. And that resets your whole toolbar and you can go in and readjust it as necessary. Okay, so I usually bring the layers panel up quite high because that's a very important one to be using. So there we go. There's an introduction to Photoshop's workspace.